Welcome to Smut and Sensibility,
a podcast for romance readers and romance writers.
By romance readers and writers.
We are Amber,
Allie,
and Marie,
a group of learned ladies who love talking about the romance genre.
In this podcast, we will talk about our favorite books, writing craft, and how we make room for a creative life in real time.
So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome back to Smut and Sensibility, everyone, a podcast for romance readers and writers by romance reader and writers. I'm Amber. I'm a corporate attorney by day and a romance reader and writer by night.
I'm Allie. I'm a doctor, writer, and after-hours academic studying history part-time at Oxford.
Yeah,
and we're
you
here.
are. And we're here. How you doing today? How are we doing?
Just like, again, I remain bewildered that everything right now is happening all at once. And I think I was telling you earlier, I made like a giant color-coded calendar for May, June, and July.
Sexy.
It is beautiful, but it is also terrifying because everything is going to suck really bad this summer. But the good news is that there is an end date. The problem, though, is that I can no longer blame Mercury in retrograde because it just happens to just be life. That's lifing. How about you?
We're recording on a Monday. We're doing okay. As you all know, Allie's taking a little bit of a step back from some of the podcasting stuff. So I was editing an episode today and, tech be teching and lost the whole breaking edit, which is fine. We'll start over. But, sometimes life happens. The Word doc doesn't save. The podcast edit doesn't save. So we're kind of like, again, a little angsty over here, but I'm fired up for this episode because it's going to be great. We're diving into part 2 of Foolproof Romance, Love Between the Beach Sheets by Christopher Downing. And we've got some really fun book nooks to share. So I'm really excited to just take a step away from the tech issues and any other negativity that's going on and live in our happy space, which is the podcast. Okay, so speaking of us reading indie, Allie, I didn't tell you this, but I want to call out What's Noelle Reading on Instagram at WhatUHATSNOELLE reading, READING. I put a post about a neurodivergent character, and it was kind of funny, and the other love interest comes in to stand up for them, and she recommended To Catch a Firefly by Emmy Sanders, and this is an MM romance. It was delightful. So thank you for that recommendation.
Thank you for the rec.
It was so good.
We love it.
It was so good.
Open for all of the recs.
Are we going to go to our book nooks? Speaking of book recs.
I think we are. And like we said, we are always happy to abandon our TBR. They're used to it at this point.
Yeah, they love us anyway.
They do.
Should I go first, Allie?
I would love for you to go first.
This week, I am sharing The Entanglement of Rival Wizards by Sarah Rash. Can we talk about how beautiful this cover is?
Look at those
for those
bright
of you
edges.
listening. It is like a fuchsia purple background with teal writing for the title. And yes, the edges are sprayed teal. It's just, it so pops. But here is the description. Will they conjure love or evoke chaos? 2 rival wizards are about to find out. Sebastian Walsh, Evocation Department, human, the first of his family to pick college over the military. Ethior Torel, Conjuration Department, half-elf, pretentious asshole, the latest legacy Torel at Lasara U. Both, their Magnus Research Grant finalists. Sebastian refuses to let anyone snatch this away, least of all a snob riding on old money. But what's worse than a nemesis stealing your grant? You could both get it under the condition you work together. But Theo's broody, taking up their shared lab space with his projects and biceps, brings treats for Sebastian's familiar. I know I got a little heated even saying it. And is nothing like Sebastian thought. When Sebastian's pass with the Torals faces him to choose his research or Theo, the decision should be simple, but while working with his rivals volatile, falling for his rival might blow up Sebastian's future. This, you guys, was as magical, delightful, and heated enemies to lovers as this cover indicates, besides just being beautiful, as we just talked about. And guess where I got this copy, Allie? Take a wild guess.
If I had to guess, Tropes and Trifles.
Tropes and Trifles, they never let us down. This book is told from Sebastian's point of view, and we start learning in the beginning about his college life, his roommate Auric, and then this heated rivalry with the Conjuring Department, and their pranks back and forth, and most importantly, his hate for Theo in the very beginning. I do have to admit, at first, when I started this, I had a little bit of a hard time connecting with Sebastian as he had some self-sabotaging tendencies and some impulse control that I realized I was trying to rationalize as a 38-year-old woman brain. So I had to remind myself that you're meant to disconnect and put your perspective in a young man working on his post-grad. And I needed to like suspend my belief for that. And man, did it pay off. I eventually adored all of these characters who each carry their own backstory and trauma that made me want to just scream mama bear in their defense and like give them all big hugs.
No.
I know. I was so invested in their research project and then to see how the enemies would become lovers and how that romance was going to unfold because man, did they really start out as enemies in the beginning, like hard freaking core. So Sebastian and Theo realize they might have more in common than they think, and it's just such a sweet love story under all the academic background, government powerful evil forces that I won't go into too much detail for spoilers, but that's pressing in on all sides. And this was just delightful and the perfect escapism. And also the sex and spicy scenes were very hot, muy caliente, mini chili peppers.
Mini chili pepper.
Mini chili
Love
peppers.
it. Love it.
I love a romance that gives us like the trifecta of plot, lovable characters with good character arc, and then also some great spice because we can have it all.
We can't have it all.
Have to choose.
We do not.
And then lastly, I really liked how in this world, sexuality doesn't appear to be an issue. It's never mentioned that they are gay or that it should be hidden or that society or their families might be a hurdle because of their love just because they are both men. And I absolutely adored that. I wish our own world was like that. So it was fun to visit a world that I didn't have this rooted basic type of hate in it. It wasn't mentioned because it's not even a thing. And that was just chef's kiss.
Oh, love that. I have seen this, like this has been like all over. Like I've seen it advertised to me. I've gotten the emails like from Bookshop, like it's been in newsletters and it's like, it's absolutely on my TBR. And, you know, I read Zom Rom-Com because you talked about Zom Rom-Com from Olivia Dade. And so, you know, sometimes we take Book Nook recs from each other. Very often we do, actually.
Very often we do.
I'm definitely going to add this to the list. This sounds
Yay.
delightful. Yay!
Speaking of book recs for each other, Allie, what do you have for me and the listeners? What do you got this week?
Okay, well, I feel like April and I have been screaming about this book in the group chat.
Yeah,
also, like this whole week. So the book that I read was Tourist Season by Bryn Weaver, which is book 1 in the Seasons of Carnage trilogy. Butcher and Blackford is on my TBR, but like again, things just happen and people get moved up. And I'm a mood reader. What can I say? I can't be held responsible for the decisions that I make. It is what it is. We go by whims. I obviously was like familiar with her interpretation of serial killer romance. And this series, though, this book, my God, I loved this book. I absolutely devoured it. I think I was done with it in like a day, maybe a day and a half.
Damn, that's a two-syllable damn.
It was so good. If you love, it's a genre mashup. So if you love Dexter, if you like Murder, She Wrote, if you like Gilmore Girls, good like true crime documentary, some kind of like pop culture-y, zeitgeisty, like Reddit sleuths, influencers, like I think that you would absolutely love this. There's a lot going on. And that is so complimentary. Officially, Cape Carnage is a seaside town of colorful houses, quirky shops, and an unusually high body count. With tourists comes trouble, and Harper Starling won't let anyone ruin her picture-perfect home. A skilled gardener with killer instincts, Harper protects her sanctuary and her aging mentor with a fading memory at any cost. Troublesome tourists don't check out of Carnage. They compost beneath Harper's award-winning flower beds. But Nolan Rhodes isn't your average tourist. Devilishly handsome, disarmingly charming, and skilled with a blade, Nolan is relentless in the pursuit of revenge. And on every anniversary of the hit-and-run accident that fractured his life, Nolan slays another target. And he saved the best for last, the undeniably beautiful Harper Starling. The problem, Harper isn't the woman and monster that he expected, and she won't go down without a fight. When an amateur crime investigator comes to Cape Carnage on the trail of a long-lost serial killer, Harper and Nolan strike an uneasy truce. If Nolan helps Harper protect her town, she'll keep quiet about his hunting habits, for now. But their alliance soon spirals into obsession, one that threatens to shatter every secret in Carnage, including their fragile love. I feel like this was a top-tier read for me this year. I needed to dissociate, and this like kept me really excited through it. Like the momentum in this book is fantastic. Like there isn't truly like a lull. There's no saggy middle. Like there's not any of that going on. There are, an appropriate balance, I think, of like, slower, tender moments, but like the book is fast paced, like things are happening. And I think it's just a really intriguing genre mashup, which we're seeing that, that is something that is
on
highly
trend.
desirable right now. It's very on trend. And so just like the fact that from her brain, we have like part cozy mystery where the town is kind of its own character in a very like Gilmore Girls, again, like Cabot Cove kind of way, part rom-com. So there's like lots of hijinks and there's a excellent grade A banter, part serial killer romance as well, which what a combination. There are a lot of serial killers in this book. And definitely she's really good about putting content warnings and stuff. So definitely read that before you get started. But both of our main characters are serial killers. And the heroine's mentor, she is taking care of an aging serial killer who has signs of dementia. So like just imagine some of the problems that, happen there, especially when he's looking for his murder bag. And we also have an infamous serial killer that was presumed to be dormant called La Plume. I anticipate this person will be coming forward in the next 2 books, but this is a legacy of the town is this serial killer La Plume. We also have a murder bird, and I thought about you, and I think I texted you about
Murder bird. Is it a crow?
Yes.
Tell me it's a crow.
I think it's a raven.
Okay, close. Crows are in the
raven.
raven family.
It's
I
either
think.
a raven or a crow, but he like brings her trinkets, and I thought about you.
I can't believe this is
and-
happening on the episode where we just talked about me wanting to like bring the crows in.
I
And
know,
you thought
I
it
was
was
like-
crazy.
I
Apparently,
know.
I am a murder romance waiting to happen. Oh, get
It's
it?
perfect.
A group of crows is a murder. Sorry.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway,
A murder of crows.
That was
And then-
really dorky, y'all. Sorry.
I know. And then of course, what did I say to you when you were like, did you know that a group of crows is called a murder? And I was like, I did. And I was like, did you know that a group of ravens is called an unkindness? And where did I learn that? One Tree Hill. So
One Tree Hill,
One
the
Tree
gift
Hill.
that keeps giving.
yes. But I felt like this was just really fun. There were so many unserious like situations amidst like the death. So like that, again, that's like an id thing for me, having just stuff that's hijinksy and bonkers and so unserious and things that have emotional implications. Just that balance I thought was fantastic. The meddling like online sleuths. And I know our friend April, you can follow her at April Fatante Author on TikTok and Instagram. But
Hi, April.
Hi, April. She's in our writing group. And like I said, she and I have been like squealing about this in the group chat. And I remember I finished reading it and I texted her and I was like, have you read this? Because you would freaking love this. And she's like, oh, I have read it and I do love it. And she had just made a TikTok about it. And she had mentioned that like the stakes in the book are so high. And yes, they are. I think it's just such a good lesson about stakes and momentum in your story. And it was a great balance of like tension and angst and really hot sex scenes and tenderness. And honestly,
All the things we want.
it was so good. I can't stop saying enough about it. And I'm really excited for book 2, which we don't have to wait very long for, y'all. It is coming out June 9th, 2026. And book 2
That is really
called
soon.
really soon. Book 2 is called Harvest Season. So if you haven't read this yet,
There's time before book 2
there's
comes.
time. Even though I'm probably going to like be mad maybe at the casting potentially, but like I would love to see this as like a TV series or like a movie. Like this would be so
We're just anticipating
good.
being mad about any casting. now.
Probably.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you listen to this on audio? Was it delightful? Do you know who the narrators were? Because
I
feel
did
like
listen to it on audio.
okay,
Let me see who
yeah.
the narrator was. Pause.
Beep, beep, beep.
And it was a duet narration, which was really fun.
Ooh, yeah, duets are delightful. That already sold it. I don't even need to know. I mean, I do want to know who it is, but like this one's going to be an audio for me. I think an audio.
Yeah,
listen.
I got it from Libby. It was great. Okay, so yes, I did listen to it on audio, and it was narrated by Samantha Brentmore and
Oh,
Robert
she's
Hatchett.
So good.
Really good.
I don't know
And
if I've
it's
listened to
duet.
Robert Hatchett before. It sounds familiar, but for sure Samantha Brentmore. I love her.
For sure, Samantha Brentmore. Yeah, he was great. Nolan has a little bit of like a whiff of a southern accent, and he did a great job.
A little bit of a twang, you say.
A little bit of
hey?
a twang. He lives from Tennessee, so he lives in the Great Smoky Mountains area.
A mountain man with a twang.
Mountain man with a Born to Kill tattoo. You know,
Writes itself.
Anyway,
This is so good. This sounds delightful.
really
And
solid book
murdery.
note today.
You can be both. You can be delightful and murdery.
Both and.
Right, you guys, we are back with part 2, parte dos, of our craft corner, Foolproof Romance, Love Between the Beat Sheets by Christopher Downing. Again, if you haven't watched the first part, it's out now. And just to reiterate, this is dedicated to Denise Williams, who mentioned this in her interview that we had with her, which was lovely. That's also an episode that's out now. We discussed her latest release, The Redo List. You should definitely go watch that too. Just watch all.
Absolutely.
Because who doesn't have all the time in the world? But what was so intriguing about this craft book was it was centered on tension rather than the discrete plot structure throughout. However, the tension and the plot go hand in hand. It's such a short read. It's available on Kindle. And in this part 2, we are going to talk about the plot more, how the tension then moves the plot structure in Christopher's opinion.
And essentially, he promises that understanding how tension works in romance stories, structure essentially becomes second nature. You can use structure then as a tool to make all of your angsty, tensiony dreams come true. Getting into it right away, on page 47, he says, structure is a romance writer's tool for manipulating romantic tension. I think that's the argument of this whole book, is we define tension and then structure is in service to tension, not the other way around. And this book just made a lot of sense to me, I think, as somebody who spiritually should be a very detailed outliner, but I cannot be for some reason.
Life is hard, you know?
It really is, especially when you look at my color-coded calendar that I made and just how I like to live my life. You would think that that's how I like to write, but somehow it isn't. But maybe I can fix it. But
maybe it's just certain ways of looking at it. Like he talks about in this book that, you know, it isn't a secret that there are hundreds of craft books for over hundreds of years talking about structure a lot. And structure is important. But a lot of writers will follow it to a T or put that first because that's maybe what's expected or what should. But especially with romance, I like he makes that little joke like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like what comes first, the plot of the romance? And again, romance is so specific that we have those two plots going, right? The romance is the main plot with also the plot going on in the background of the story. That again, I just love this twist, not really twist, but reframing your mind that it isn't just the plot that moves it forward. It is the romance. And within that romance, it's that tension between the two that then can make those decisions for the plot. So maybe that's part of we need to rewire our brain and not so focused on just like the plot in our academic writing from medicine and law. And that's maybe where we have a hard time translating it to creativity, that it doesn't leave that space for us to like get in the zone and have that creative free time to come up with those ideas. Maybe it's more of like the tension then builds the plot and do it at the same time or in conjunction with. It was very delightful in that way.
Yeah, and I think we've talked a bit about certain craft books that make sense to our brains, and I think Story Genius is definitely one of them. It's, I think, one of our favorites collectively just because of what it focuses on. And I think, you know, what I'm realizing in reading these craft books is, and reviewing them essentially for the podcast, is that I am really drawn to like the psychology of writing, figuring out your characters, figuring out what makes them tick, what will undo them, what will ruin them, all of those things. That to me makes a lot of sense. And I think some of the reason why I struggle with just Save the Cat, for example, it hurts my brain because I'm listening or reading the book and I'm trying to think about my story and like put it into these boxes. I'm like, well, I don't have an idea for what that plot beat would be. And so I almost feel like I freeze up where I need to come up with this thing that is supposed to happen. And I'm like, oh, I don't have an idea about that thing, but sort of letting the psychology of the characters, their dynamic, letting that drive the plot for me is a little bit easier.
Yeah. And I think tying to his next, when he talks about like, what are the major beats that are expected in the genre? I think this is reflected. A lot of these beats are similar to Romancing the Pete from Gwen Hayes that are very common in romance. And he talks about the meet cute, right? Yep. Very common, right? This isn't new. This isn't, originating from Chris. Sorry, Chris. But like this has been around for a while, right? Adhesion, right? We talk about that. The false high, separation, the dark moment, the grand gesture, and the happily ever after. So those are what is expected in romance, and building that in with your tension shouldn't be unfamiliar to any of you that have been with us before.
Yeah, and he does argue that romance specifically is a genre of expectations. And he argues that not only are those, beats that Amber just listed, are they genre specific, and you will have hell to pay if you don't if you don't include those, in your
The townsfolk
story.
will come with their pitchforks. They will come
pitchforks.
for you.
Exactly. They will be on your trail. But they also are really important dynamic points in your story that are perfect to ratchet up the tension and introduce conflict. And he separates out story into 4 acts, essentially, which is similar to Gwen. Save the Cat is 3-act structure. Romancing the Beat argues a 4-act structure. I like a 4-act structure personally. I think it makes the most sense to me. I think especially when we're talking about romance and we kind of have that like midpoint of love, midpoint physicality. If you have a book that has, spice in it, or if you are doing a non-spicy book, there's like emotional intimacy, right?
Mhm.
So to me, that kind of makes sense. And so he structures it based on where we are in love, and then building points of tension along with those kind of 8 key plot beats, as well as some of his tenets of tension. So the first act is what he calls Love is Born.
Love is born.
Love is Born. And this again connects to just any general story structure. So in Romancing the Beat, it's the status quo. In like introducing, your characters and their before life. And Save the Cat, it's the opening image. It's, before they leave for their journey. And obviously
again, Frodo.
That's
on
right.
the way
exactly.
home from the Shire. Leaving
That's
the Shire.
right. And then we have our meet cute, which is obviously where our characters meet. And this is a really important place. And I believe Gwen says this too, like, make it memorable, make it good. And Chris takes it one step further and he says, make it full of tension and plant those seeds of tension. And he recommends adding in some of those, what he calls romantic intensifiers, and emphasize your character's conflict during this meet cute. Give them something memorable, and then also kind of just punctuate with the fact that, like, yeah, this is never going to work. We could never be together. This is also
Those
the
silly
time where
fools.
You
Those
silly
little fools.
you silly fools. This is also the time where you are starting to introduce your external plot, because we have internal goals and external goals. And it's important because it's a romance. So I think it needs to be said that, like, there needs to be some type of attraction, right? There needs to be something that they're like, that's hot. And it could be that's hot, but I still hate you. That's
Oh my
kind
God.
of our
When
favorite.
you said that's hot, I just want to insert Paris Hilton. That's hot.
Please do.
Do you remember? That's hot.
Do I remember Paris Hilton? Yes. Oh my God.
No, I
of
know
course
you do,
I
but like, remember when you just be like, that's hot.
That's hot.
We're showing our millennial feathers here.
We are. We're showing our age. Be nice to us. We're from the 1900s.
We're elder millennials.
Elder millennials. I think it's also important that the inciting incident is happening, and it's got to be a problem that cannot just be quickly solved. That's the whole point of a novel, is that you're going to try to solve this problem, and this journey is going to take place, and it can't just be an easy fix. There needs to be complication. He mentions this should definitely have your meet cute and your adhesion beats. And you guys know from our Romancing the Beat episode that, like, I love adhesion. I love that, like, point of no return of, like, I'm stuck with them, and how are we going to make this work? Because we are both, in opposition, and we're attracted to each other, and now we're stuck together. And that's annoying. And also nothing can happen between us ever, ever, ever. So I love that moment. So that's kind of his first act that he is calling Love is Born.
The second act we have is Love Gets Excited, you guys. So this is where we're going to amp up that curiosity for both characters and the readers. So this is a good point to do the curiosity about your main character. Get them talking, get them doing things. The attraction is deepening, but again, we're still doing that like can never happen. Whatever that knowledge is, that this can definitely never, never happen. Add in those romantic tensions that he talked about in the first half of the book, and then expose those power traits here to really get it excited. But I think, again, as he mentioned in the first half, this is a good time to make sure the characters are doing that in front of each other. So that way the characters can see it and start to fall in love with each other. But then we as the readers can see the characters doing that in front of each other, right? Not that you're just show it, not tell it, and make sure it's happening with the characters in front of them. You got to do the woo.
Gotta do the woo.
You got to do the woo.
It's the whole point.
Yeah. So getting us excited, keep us turning that page, make it realistic that the characters would keep coming back, amplify that infatuation. That's where those points of tension or those amplifiers from the first part really come in, where if you're like, well, how do I do that? We have a whole episode. Chris has a whole book. You should go buy it, click buy now. Okay, to that midpoint of Love Beat of how are they going to get together, right? You want them to get together, but there's obstacles in their way of that, like, it just doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. And then eventually that growing love, lust, infatuation, situation, big soup pot is going to win out, right?
Yeah.
Unwritten rule, if you're going to have spice, Allie mentioned early in the episode, 50, 60% is kind of the mark you want to have it at. But even if you don't have spice, right, it's important that they can have that intimate connection. We still can have intimacy that isn't physical intimacy, right? So it's not like you need spice for it to be a romance book. And we both read many books that don't have spice that are delightful. So just make sure that you know that don't worry if you don't want to write spice, that is okay. And you just got to make sure that there's that intimacy somewhere else emotionally.
Yes, exactly. And I think the reason that I have been really enjoying reading this book, and I feel like it's probably one of my top like craft books that I would have and recommend to people, but is that when I am frustrated with something that I'm reading, or I'm like, this was okay, I think it's because I'm not feeling the tension. And I think I've said this before, but I don't like it when we're having, sex on page and it's just sort of like Barbies, they're just sort of like doing things however they do it, but you like don't feel anything about it. And your characters, like there's not like that emotional resonance. And again, I think that's what's important here, is that sex is like the vehicle for intimacy and vulnerability and ultimately tension. And he does point out that on page 62, I thought this made me laugh because I was like, he's right. In romance, sex doesn't fix things. Sex complicates things and makes a lot of stuff worse. So,
again,
yep.
As
like,
in real life
good,
sometimes.
But it also causes a lot more problems. So it sort of introduces your next set of problems that you didn't have before you guys decided to horn it up in the closet or whatever you're doing.
Whoopsies. Oh, no.
Yeah.
And then where does that get us? What's number 3?
So then that gives us to Love Gets Scared. And this is in Romancing the Beat. This is kind of like you're retreating from love. The characters have given into their impulses. They basically have told themselves that like everything's going to be fine. This is going to be totally and completely fine. Nothing will actually have to change on a fundamental level. Now we're just getting to have this other person in our lives without a big change, which is great.
All the fun and no consequences. We're ignoring those. We're just going to push those aside. Those won't come to haunt us later.
Right. Our characters will later learn, but we know that that's a lie. And Christopher says that this is the time where he would recommend pouring gasoline on the fire. So again, we're doing that intensifier of romantic tension. Are you sensing a theme? This is the whole point of the book. He talks about wanting to make your characters like really feel the consequences of their actions and maybe reintroducing them to their fears, but now with higher stakes. And also making sure that you are at the same time amplifying the connection between them. You want to make their feelings towards each other stronger, but also the consequences greater. Because again, we're like leveling up now to, I really like you, but man, I really, really can't be with you, even more than it was before at the beginning of the book. One of the big beats in here that he talks about is like a must hit is what he calls the separation beat. And he talks a lot about like physical separation, I think. And when I think about this beat, what comes to mind in that frame is a lot of like Lisa Kleypas novels. She writes a very specific hero. They are beloved. But usually when we're talking about this kind of beat, it tends to be like more external. Sometimes there's a secret family member, there's an explosion, there's a big bad guy, like that's sort of what's happening. There's like a dramatic physical separation in a lot of her books. Like they're not as much of like an emotional separation or between points if you can do both. Like it should be a big thing that has like an emotional consequence and that is tailored specifically for that opposing character to feel the maximum impact. Like I think Gwen had
Maybe it
used an
could
example.
trigger their wound.
That's right. Trigger their wound. Trigger the shit out of them. Yes, absolutely. Like
Triggers left and right, baby. Just
yes,
all over
like,
the place.
you know, his family died in a fire. Well, guess what? She's stuck in a burning building. You know, like something like that.
Let's do it. Let's just do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a really important thing and make it a big deal. And then the dark moment, the dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it, that is something that typically happens after they've had like their, you know, separation, whether it's emotional, physical, preferably both. And this is where you really sink into the everything is horrible. I hate everything. I'm terrible. This is terrible. This was a mistake. You really want to like sink into that feeling because we've been brought up and then we've been brought down. And you kind of need to be at that rock bottom to then move into with momentum the next act.
Which brings us to love conquers fear, right? We have to have that promise of happily ever after in romance. So now the rock bottom dark moment has made them realize that they have to face their fears. Their worst fear isn't as bad as not being without that other person or not going back to this wonderful version of happened before the dark moment. That's where you really show them how bad things have gotten, and then we give them the reason to fight for love. What are they willing to give up? And it's even better if it's really what they thought was the most important thing in them in the world in the beginning. They're now willing to give that up for the sake of love. What is that? What are the consequences? Will that still cause pain, but they're going to endure it because it's worth it? The sacrifice needs to be worth it to make the commitment worth it. And that brings us to the grand gesture, everyone. Everyone about the grand gesture, right? So a lot of times we have to have this big moment to really show how we're going to make sure that the commitment is real and that it's going to stay and it's going to be worth it. Take that risk with me. Look at what I gave up for you. That's how important you are. And again, I think the fears, right? A lot of times if you make it and connected to those wounds, maybe childhood trauma or just what they thought was most important isn't most important anymore. That makes the grand gesture more impactful and more moving for the character receiving it. And then for us as the reader too. And then at the end, we get that beautiful resolution of the happily ever after. Our doubts are gone. The fears are gone because now we get that happily ever after, baby.
Yay!
Woo!
Woo woo!
Just the beautiful resolution. And that's it. That's those 4 little structures.
I love that. And I thought that it was really helpful to kind of put the beats within the framework of romantic tension. Like I said, this just like really made sense to my brain. So thank you, Christopher Downing, because I really appreciate you. And I think that one thing that he also does point out that I thought was a really good point, and Gwen kind of talks about like the push and pull as well. And I think that that's pretty standard when we're talking about writing craft. Like there has to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, kind of an action, reaction, scene and sequel. But I think having that we're up, we're down, and then basically making your ups and downs bigger as you're building throughout the story really does help to increase the tension. And I will say, back to my book Nook, there was so much happening in Tourist Season by Brynne Weaver. It was great that I was reading this book and I was reading that book kind of around the same time because I was like, wow, I can really appreciate what she did here. And yeah, like we had a lot of built-in tension into the premise
So much
of the
tension.
story. But
all
like,
that's going on, it must have been all tension in the best way.
it was like the ups, like the highs were higher, the lows were lower, like with each sort of progression into the next act. And like, so that was done exceptionally well. And I think what would be really fun to review in the future, maybe when we're done with our drafts and we're actually going to the editing phase at some point. But April had always talked about StoryGrid, and StoryGrid is really great for editing, not so much for outlining, drafting, things like that, because you can otherwise just never finish and get in the weeds, and they even acknowledge that. You essentially quantify your ups and your downs, and there's a way that you can literally make a grid, and there's grids of all of these stories that are used as examples. And April really liked it. She said that it was really helpful to kind of see your push and your pull and your up and your down. And so that's just kind of something also to be keeping in the back of your mind. And I think that that also comes with the emotional resonance of what we're trying to do, right? Like you could have an explosion, but like that's a bad thing. But like, why is it bad to that character? Why is that like even worse than, you know, a fire or, you know, a tornado? Like, why is an explosion the worst thing that could have happened, like in that situation? So just thinking, keeping that in mind.
I love it. I love it all. And it was, again, it was just such a little nuggy.
It was good. And he does also go into brainstorming a 55K word novella in here too. So you basically get taken through that whole process, and he does include like all of this information in like a really nice condensed worksheet for you. And I think that that alone is absolutely a reason to pick up this book. I really enjoyed it. Amber, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I did. It all was wonderful, but I think for me primarily the examples of the tension and that one example that he walked through with his story was really helpful. I think I'm going to really take that away and have that bookmarked for if I'm feeling stuck or the story doesn't seem to have enough up and downs, or I'm in a writer's block. Like, what's wrong? Start with tension. Like, go back, look at that page, see if anything jumps out that could be applicable to your story, and kind of have that as an auto go-to. So I'm not, you know, spiraling or spinning the wheel so much when we do get stuck, which is part of the process, right? You're thinking, you're kind of like noodling on stuff, but it would be nice if you didn't have to noodle for so long and there was something you could reference to kind of just like jumpstart those ideas. And I'm hopeful for this one, for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, I bookmark a couple of pages in here, and I'm like, I'm absolutely going to come back here as like a reference. I think when I am ideating, you know, and I'm noodling on my story, whether it's a new one or my current one, whenever that may be, but I definitely think that this will be a great reference. And I always have, you know, come back to Romancing the Beat, and I definitely think that this is another one that I don't think is talked about as much. I hadn't heard about it before Denise mentioned it.
No, when
and
Denise mentioned it, I was like, what? Which one?
Absolutely be up there with Romancing the Beat. You know, you can have two Bibles, you know, and I think this one can be there too. And
there's room for everybody, you know?
There is room for everyone. I was like, where is my Romancing the Beat? Oh, here she is. Yeah. And like, don't they look so cute together? And they're both so little cute. And like,
I think mine's on the shelf somewhere, but they're so cute.
They're so cute. And I would say if you're wanting to write romance, I would say these are two like essential things, because you've got your story structure and then you have your tension. And I think that this tension really plays off of like character development, which can kind of then lead you into story genius. And I think that plays, I think, really well off of that, because this is a genre of feelings and emotions. And so we need to feel things and we need to emote.
Just to end on that recommendation for those two, it can be overwhelming when you first start, or even when you don't start, right? Like industry professionals talk about like you need to know your craft, right? If you're wanting to like have a good book and get published, or even indie published, but have it be good and resonate for those reasons. These two are a lower investment of time, resources, and even space, right? Like it's so tiny to fit on your shelf. You can fit it in your bag if you're going to go somewhere and write and have it nearby. So at least for a starter, you know, it's nice to not feel like you have to spend this big chunk of money and this huge chunk of time and space for something I may or may not resonate with. We think it'll resonate with you, but also this is quite a lower investment for these two little guys. Like I said, less space and time to absorb them. So just some food for thought from these two random ladies on the interwebs.
Yeah. The thing that I felt like was kind of frustrating when I decided that I like wanted to write something, and then I was like, I don't think that this is that good. And then I was like, okay. And I tend to be the person where like, I love learning. Like, are you surprised?
Obviously
like,
we do. Like, it's not a secret. We love learning on this podcast.
Yeah, we love learning. So if I'm going to like do a new thing, I want to know everything about it. Like it becomes, you know, like my new obsession. I just love learning. And so what I felt like was really frustrating when I started is, you know, I just didn't really resonate with like a lot of the craft books that people were like recommending for starter packs for new writers. And like, I think it's because I specifically write romance.
Yes.
And for some reason, my brain just like really, really struggled with some of these more generic like craft books that are not romance focused or don't really mention romance. Or if they do mention romance, it's like Pride and Prejudice or something that's
Yeah.
not necessarily contemporary.
It's like one example, you know?
Right.
Also, too, when you first start, I felt analysis paralysis. There are so many
Yes.
craft books out there in the best way, but like you said, maybe aren't romance specific, or you don't know what you don't know. So you don't even know how to narrow it down. I remember very early on when I was secretly writing, right? Like, not everybody goes through this phase, but like many people, right, don't tell people they're writing because they're just like nervous and people might judge or ask to see. There's a whole psyche there. Anyway, so imagine me, however many years ago. I love going to the bookstore. So I'm going to Barnes and Noble in secret, going to the reference section to look at books on how to write a book, how to write craft, how to write story. And those books are probably great for certain genres, but I just felt like, okay, going through the titles, trying to figure out, oh, this one kind of sounds good and it wasn't bad. But as we've talked about, it didn't maybe resonate because it's not the exact subgenre I'm writing. Or it was a really thick girl that I was like, oh my gosh, now I have these 5 tomes, you know? So I think there's just a lot out there, and we're kind of why we started this Craft Corner series, right? Stuff that we found really helpful, genre specific, to hopefully just kind of make a nice little shelf for you in the reference section that's for romance books. Like, how sexy would that be?
Yeah. Amazing.
Come here. Come here.
Yeah.
We got it for you.
We would love to see it. And I know that I still do, like, wish that there was like a shortcut, in that I wish that you could just like tell me how to write a romance or like how to write a book. And I could be like, yes, this is the process that you must follow. And unfortunately,
like a recipe. You just
yeah, I wish that there was just like a
boom.
recipe. Like, this is how you do the thing. Like, repeat this and you'll get something. And that's just so not how this process is. And so it is kind of annoying when people are like, this is what I do, but you have to do what works for you and you have to figure it out. And like, there is an annoying truth of that. You do have to figure it out, which is why we also wanted to share, because I was really looking for people to talk about what they're doing, what they like, what did work, what didn't work from them. So I had a place to start when I was trying to figure out what worked for me. And what has worked for me and what hasn't worked for me has surprised me. Like I said, I really thought that I was going to be like a 20,000 word, super detailed outliner. And maybe there's still time. Who's to say?
I think you need to let go of that dream. That maybe isn't for you.
Maybe
like,
it's
just
not for
let
me.
it go.
But I do think that it is just very helpful to talk about these things, because sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't, but you can at least get a good vibe. And hopefully we've mentioned some things that you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense to my brain. I'm starting to noodle on that, because that's the exciting part, is when you're reading a craft book that's really hitting for you and you have that sort of epiphany, you start thinking about your story,
inspiration.
and then it sort of unlocks something that you didn't necessarily even realize was missing, and you're like, this is it, this is it, this is it. So that's what we hope that we can provide. And I don't know, I always want to know what other people are doing. I'm nosy, and
No.
I like to talk about stuff.
No.
What? That's so crazy. And I think
So
that,
anyway.
there's no rules, but I also think that sometimes people are like weirdly secretive about stuff. And
Yeah, there's no
I
gatekeeping
definitely
here.
No. And I definitely think that needs to be more transparency, period, in the publishing industry in general and with writing. And so that's what we hope to provide, is talking about like what works for us, what doesn't work, and trying new stuff and seeing what happens. And hopefully when we talk about our stories and our mini-sodes and things like that, that gets you noodling about what you're working on.
And your happily ever afters.
And your happily ever after. And your finished novel, goddammit.
Yeah, you're going to finish that novel. Yeah. Damn it. Speaking of happy endings, Allie, what do you got for us this week?
Oh my God, Amber, don't ask me that.
Okay, that's rude. None your business.
No.
Okay, so I'll go first. My happy ending this week is we're kind of starting to research little campers for when Patrick gets back. So we're trying to plan trips and fun things for us all to look forward to kind of get us to the end of deployment. And we've camped, like we hike, we camp as a family. Not as much since Lachlan's been born, but Patrick has always wanted to like own a camper. This has been like a lifelong dream. So I'm like, what better time? If not now, when, right? Like, you're coming back from deployment, the world is on fire. So we're researching. It's just going to be like a little guy that we can pull behind our SUV. But it'll have like what we're looking at. It'll have like little bunk beds in the back, so it can fit Lachlan and the dog. So nothing extravagant, very small, the size of how big and expensive you can go with campers. But it'll be our first one. And that is really getting me excited, not just for him coming home, but like our first camper together, trips this summer, and just starting to visualize all the happy family memories we're going to start having with that. So that has just been so fun. And with spring right around the corner, right, weather getting warmer, it's starting to be summer, almost there. We can almost touch it. So that's my happy ending for this week.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, I think Patrick is going to be so excited when he gets it. Like,
no,
what a wonderful, yeah, because like you said, if not now, when? He's been to war.
He's not even going to know what to do. I think he's been dreaming of this for so long. It's almost going to be a moment of paralysis of like, oh my God, we have a camper. Like, we're going to get a camper. Like, it's happening, you know?
Yeah. And I think Lachlan is at such a good age too. Like, as in the next couple of years, you know, he's not like a baby and he is school age child. And so
but not like sports. Like, we're not doing tournaments every weekend for later elementary or middle school, right? He's 4. Like, this is prime time. Daddy and mommy are still the coolest. And I want to spend all my time with you.
That's right. This is a good sweet spot. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for our future Patrick. That's going to be wonderful.
It's going to be so exciting.
We'll have to do like a camping trip at some point.
A Smut and Sensibility summer camp trip.
Oh my gosh, I know.
So fun. What about
that
you,
sounds
girl?
delightful. That's a wonderful happy ending.
Thank you, darling.
Okay, I guess
You're
I
like, fuck, I got nothing. Okay, here, let's brainstorm for you. You already did Oxford.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll make it in, but Amber, I said my happy ending, and she's like, no, you just said that. So, I can't.
Yeah, she's got to do a different one.
Thing. Yeah, I have to come up with a different one. I guess.
Since I'm forcing you and twisting your arm.
Like, there are things that are good. Let me see.
Did you get your movers scheduled? That is a happy ending.
Nope.
I'll just shove my foot right in my goddamn mouth.
Yep. Nope. So I will say that one of the things that I am happy about is that phase 1, like we have a multi-phase disaster of a summer that's happening as far as like administrative tasks and adulting and like all of those things. So like phase 1 is going to be done like pretty soon. And then I'm not going to have to worry about that anymore. So that's very exciting. And then Daniel's going to be graduating soon, which is
I am
exciting.
so excited. Do they, this is a silly question, but like, are they going to do gowns? Do they do gowns at this stage still?
No.
I figured they didn't, but I want him to. Can I send Daniel a gown? There's no way he's going to put it on for me. He'll be like, Amber,
I still
with
have
respect.
my medical school like cap and gown.
Can you imagine? He wakes up that day and you're like, honey, I have something for you.
Show up. No, it's just like, it's usually like, you know, like suits, dresses, you know, like stuff like that.
It's usually what like those advanced degrees and certifications and licensing are.
Well, yeah, because technically you've already graduated with your doctorate when you graduate from medical school. And so that's your academic graduation. And so technically like residency and fellowship is like postgraduate medical education. So it's not through like universities typically. I mean, it can be affiliated with a university, but you know, it's its own licensing governing body.
Such a smarty pants. Your house is so smart.
He's something. Yes. No, he is. He's like he's one of the smartest people that I know. And he's wonderful. But yeah, so I'm excited for his graduation. It's coming up so soon. Like, I'm looking at my color-coded calendar and it is both giving me joy and anxiety.
Not to add to the anxiety, but do you have a graduation gift in mind for him? Or do you gotta think of that? Are you noodling on it?
Well, we're probably going to get him a road bike. He has a gravel bike right now.
That'd be such a good gift.
Yep. And our new house, there's not really like a lot of gravel rail trails or anything. So it's definitely more like road biking, and he doesn't have a road bike. So that's probably going to happen.
And he will love that. He loves biking.
Yeah. He's already been Googling and looking at stuff. So I told him, I was like, that's what he wants. And I was like, we'll get you that for your graduation gift. So I would say those are the two things that I'm I'm looking forward to. Phase 1 of drama summer is going to be done soon. And then Daniel will be graduating soon. He has been doing this for like 8 years after medical school graduation. So
It's a freaking
we're
long
old
time.
and it's a long time. It's been a long time. So I'm just
We're
really happy
old
for him.
and it's been a long time. Put that on a bumper sticker.
We are old and it's been a long time. So I'm very happy for him, and it's a lot of hard work, and he's really good at his job, and he is going to be fucking done. And so I'm very happy for him.
Yay, Daniel. Yay, you. It's going to be so exciting. That's a good
There you go.
one. That's a good happy ending.
I found something.
You did. You had to dig deep, but you found it.
I did. Because I think baseline, what's your happy ending? I'm like, ha! That's what's going on
Immediately
in my mind.
fear in the eyes, and you were like, I'm not going for okay.
It's just like, well, you wouldn't let me use my same happy ending.
Yeah, because I don't want to hear it twice. The listeners deserve more, and so do we. And so do I, okay?
I didn't want to hear about your damn yarn.
No, I love the yarn, but you used it already. That's nothing new. We have high standards here at Smut and Sensibility.
We do.
And we deserve to know all the things, including the tea of the happy endings.
We will find joy and gratitude by hook or by crook. That is right.
Hook or crook, baby.
Hook or crook, even in the bad times. So, and I will
That's
say,
right.
one other happy ending is that I am super, super
You don't want to.
appreciative.
You need to keep it for the next recording.
No.
Or do you want to do it? Okay.
No, I want to do it now.
Okay, I'm just looking out for you because then you're going to try to use this one again, and I'm going to have to be you can't use it again. You're going to go, Amber.
No, I want to use this now because we've announced the scheduling change. So I do also want to say, yeah.
Okay.
So I do also want to say that I am very appreciative for Amber because she is picking up some of my slack as I'm taking a little bit of a step back, and she is just like the most beautiful genius, queen, angel, smut bestie ever, and I'm very appreciative for that. And as my anxiety brain does, usually in the moments where like I have no time to do anything and things are the worst is when I'm like, hey, I have a really great idea for like when it's the good times.
Let's do more.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you saw today, but I do have like a brain dump document of like all of the ideas that I have for like when this is over, when the summer is over.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So I do want to say that like I am really looking forward to the fall because there's just going to be like a lot more that we're going to do and that we have planned, and we're just very excited. And I'm just really appreciative to Amber for taking charge this summer while I take a little bit of a step back to handle my crazy. And I am also very thankful for you guys, the listeners, for continuing to come back, and thank you for understanding. And you know, we've got ups and downs, we've got ebbs and flows, and we'll be back.
As do we all.
We're not going
back.
anywhere. We're just going to be around a little bit less.
Yeah, that's so sweet of you to say. Yeah, I'm just so touched, and I got you
not
just
Zoom,
as you
so
got us, and we got Zoom's little hearts. And also, as listeners, like we're here as a community, we're here to help each other, and that's how it works. Sometimes some people can show up more than others, and then in a few months it might be the other way around, and that's just what you do for friends and family. You help each other.
Right.
So
that's right. We'll be here. We'll be here no matter what.
Okay, that was a lovely happy ending to end on, and you're right. I'm glad you
you.
included it for an extra one.
Thank you.
On that note.
Yes. On that note, thank you guys again for listening to Smut and Sensibility. We are available in all of the places. So we are on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We are also on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Smut and Sensibility Pod. And we are, where else are we? We are also on iHeartRadio. We are also on Deezer, I think. We're on Amazon.
Yes.
Anywhere that you could be, we're probably there. And we really appreciate you guys coming to find us and saying hi. It really does mean a lot. And we just love gabbing and talking about books and writing and all of these things that we love. And if you have not yet, we would love if you could leave us a 5-star review, throw us a comment. It really does help us. And we would love to just keep finding and meeting our bookish besties. So I think, one more thing. We do have a newsletter as well, which is linked down below. And I have been working on it. I'm really proud of myself. It's like an April-May combo. It's going to be out by the time that this episode already has aired. But you can expect, in general, every month kind of like a feel-good roundup of stuff that we don't talk about on the podcast, extra book recommendations, recipes, just kind of
all the things.
Feel-good stuff to kind of, round out your month. and things that we're doing that we don't really talk about on the pod. So you can find us there. And it's also good to stay up to date because we never know what the algorithms are going to algorithm. And it is the bane of Amber's existence.
It is, as I take the biggest sigh.
The biggest sigh.
I looked down and took a big sigh. And, you know, as you all are, we're just trying to do our best and figure it out. And then once you feel like you have a foothold, you know, the algorithm changes or another private equity buys something else out and then it all goes to kaput. But we are still showing up, and that's what's most important.
We are. And I will say it was so funny. Like, it wasn't funny, but like it was. You guys, I just like flippantly said, I was like, yeah, well, you know, like the algorithm's gonna change. And Amber looked at me with cold, steely stare, and she was like, don't you fucking say that. And I was like,
I did. I was like, knock on wood, don't you even speak that. Why would you do that to me? I was very upset with her. I was like, knock that off.
She was like, we are just finally getting back to like a little bit more of normalcy. Why are you putting that out there? I was like, sorry.
Immediately backtracked and apologized as
I did.
was deserved.
Yes. And Amber is at the helm of social media and she does such a great job. So with that, Amber, do you want to sign us off?
I do. Thanks for being here, you guys. Go in pursuit of your happily ever after. And as always, stay smutty. Bye.
Bye.